There we go. Okay, we are live on YouTube. By the way, if you go to www.enlightenradio.org or go
Welcome
to
to
my Facebook page,
enlightenradio.org.
or go to the Labor Beat
This is
page on Facebook, or go to. I'll shut up while Mike does this. Sorry, Mike.
this is Talking Socialism with your original dusty-footed philosopher and host, Mr. John Case, and his all-together, too much together sidekick, J.B. Christensen. Also, big loudmouth Mike Diesel Cuccarini doing the announcing. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mike.
I feel like we just started a wrestling event. You know.
Yeah. Something.
Hey, they're starting back with wrestling now. I think wrestling.
Let me tell you something, brother.
They're wrestling now without a crowd, I think.
What are you gonna do? Let me tell you something.
Well, thanks to Stacy Ruckel, our wonderful labor organization correspondent here, sends out news releases every week, pretty much, and she has sent me a probably in lieu of an appearance. I actually invited her to show up this morning.
You should, yeah. She would be a good guest.
But she sent me the latest announcement of Jim Justice on the Death March, back to work. And it turns out he's rolling back his original projection, which was, or at least it was a projection of last Friday. Where
he's good at rolling.
Yeah, he's rotund. He has a rotunda.
Yeah, he rolls everywhere.
Once he starts rolling, he can't stop.
Right.
So he was going to have physical therapy centers, drive-in movies. The nearest one I found out is about 50 miles from here.
In Virginia, probably.
It is, yeah, and
somewhere near Winchester.
And restaurants. He was going to have restaurants and other with certain restrictions. Like I remember I was talking to the mother-in-law of the owner of Metalunas, last week about they were planning on opening up, but they weren't sure how they'd ever make any money because the distance seating would mean they'd have
and they have a small
places that not clear they could pay for the food.
No,
they're gonna charge triple.
Right, the cook was going to be both cooking and serving.
So they can put some tables outside. They can put some tables out on the sidewalk.
And that's still okay right now. But anyway, he, based on apparently advice from one of his guys he's got from West Virginia University that's supposedly in charge of PR responses on the.
We're like.
I said hold on. I said that he's rolling that back. He's gonna hold off on the restaurants. Until he has further advice about what the impact of what he's already done is on our medical resources. So anyway, there you go. That's the very latest that I have on the Death March back to work.
We're like 2 weeks away from someone in America using the line from "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" where they're all sitting down at the table and you start eating the stew and the guy goes, "I just killed this horse 2 weeks ago. I think she's starting to turn."
Yeah, exactly.
2 weeks ago. Oh
man, yeah,
Oh shit.
Well, that's what the California.
My wife had a really brilliant idea that I thought it was really smart. Just if we could, let me just throw this at you. I mean, it's probably out of self-necessity more than anything else, but if you are 62, you could go ahead and apply for full retirement from Social Security rather than applying for unemployment insurance. So you save the unemployment insurance. I mean, I don't know if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul or whatever in terms of the whole massive government funding, but and you might have a lot of people retire and put a lot of pressure on the Social Security thing. But I think there's a way to solve that too, is point at somebody like Amazon and go, "Hey, Bezos, it's time for you to pay up."
Sure.
You say you can't hide your money anymore. You got to give us some of it, or we're taking half your company.
I think the main way that Amazon scams on that is through they don't have to pay local state taxes in most states. Whereas
you guys are freezing up on my screen.
Oh wow.
Is that me?
No, that's yeah, that's your bandwidth.
Is that
That's
me
got to
doing
be
that?
you.
Or am I out completely?
No, you're in. I see you. Can you hear me?
He's froze now.
Yeah, but you're
Uh,
frozen up.
JB
Yeah.
keeps freezing up
That's
too.
a bandwidth thing on you're using Frontier.
Something is wrong with your Frontier.
He turned off his video. Maybe he's
Yeah.
gonna reconnect.
Back.
I can hear you.
Yeah, but I don't want this to happen the whole show. I mean, I'm going to probably have to move. Yeah, it says it's
Well,
unstable. It says my internet connection's unstable.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
okay, so why don't you?
I wake
I'm
up
gonna
every
move.
morning and tell myself I'm unstable, but
Yeah, well, he's gonna move. He's
I'm going to move to a closer to the modem.
okay. All right, man. Okay. You got to take your laptop with you?
Yeah, I
or-
got enough.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, there he goes. Go ahead. We're shot there.
Wait. So, Mike, when I was, I mean, I think that what's going to happen is unless Nancy Pelosi pulls a rabbit out of her hat, which she might do, okay,
Yeah.
that the states are going to run out of dough and families are going to run out of dough, okay? So
And he just doesn't care. He doesn't care.
No, he doesn't give a shit.
People are gonna discover how much he just does not give a shit in these next few months.
But that raises the question, okay, suppose you're called back to work in this state, in any state, and you know, you and your family determine that it's unsafe. You know, kind of like Larry Bush's family told him, you may want to go back to work, but
You're not going to.
You're not. Yeah, you know.
You're not going to do that to our mother, is what his kids said.
So now, at that point, my understanding is that you'll be cut off of unemployment if you were on unemployment, and probably any other. I don't know what other subsidies would be available. I mean, it turns out whether your family has any savings. Most.
Well, I mean,
don't.
it's funny. Tim Kaine, Senator Kaine, and a few other just co-sponsored a bill to try to. I mean, we're going to the next stimulus, and he specifically requested this not go to companies, this go to individual Americans, and he vetoed it yesterday.
Well, of course, yeah. Oh, he did.
Vetoed it yesterday. Yeah.
Well, no, Trump's Trump's plan is divide and conquer, keep the whole country in a stew, you know, if he can corrupt the elections somehow. I mean,
well, through corrupting the U.S. Postal Service.
And the whole Justice Department. What are you kidding?
Oh God, yeah. Well, with Barr taking the okay, I've admitted that what I did was illegal. I've already done it twice in court, but yet you're going to pull the charges. What in the? Where are we living?
All right, go ahead.
It's
Mike.
a banana republic.
JB, yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah,
it's a banana republic. It's ridiculous. I mean,
yeah. Did you see Barr? Did you see him on the interview, JB?
You're talking. Let's let JB go for a
Sorry,
minute.
go ahead, JB.
No, with a straight face, he said that the case had no basis. No basis. Now, what does that mean? He's our top lawyer, and he says the case has no basis, and they've been working on it for how many years? 4 years? 5 years?
Joe came in. All right, buddy.
All right. Rescue.
My friend Joe Sims here, who's the professional socialist of the four of us here.
All right.
He has a full-time job as one. Okay, so.
All right.
No, I'm still an amateur. What you talking about?
I don't think the pay rate's not exactly what it ought to be, probably, but. Anyway, I'm glad he's joined us this morning. Our theme this morning is the Death March Back to Work.
Show him the picture, John.
Oh yeah, here's check this out here, Joe. We got this picture right here is the Bataan Death March.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway,
and Joe, if you need some musical accompaniment, just think of Darth Vader's theme song. Anytime, anytime you see that, it's just da 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 da.
I hear it.
That.
It's vibrating.
Anyway, so when JB left us to go improve his bandwidth here, and he's back now. So Governor Justice has slightly rolled back his back to work order. Instead of he's dropped the restaurants off now, but the massage parlors, physical therapy centers and drive-in movies. I found one 50 miles from here in Virginia someplace.
Strasburg.
But then there's this whole push. He was getting right behind Trump's message, get everybody back to work. But now his major health advisor, at least for public relations purposes from the West Virginia University, has talked to him, and he's decided not to do that because he already has opened up some things, and we're going to wait and see what the impact on the medical infrastructure of West Virginia is, which is not as robust as some states. Okay. But nonetheless, it's, unless Speaker Pelosi and the House of Representatives somehow pull a rabbit out of the hat, people's money is going to run out before too long. And this, people are going to be faced with compelling necessities. Gee.
End of July, right? End
Yeah.
of July.
Yeah. And it's coming right up. And most people who had any savings, at least in the working class of the country, and that wasn't much. My understanding is the median cash on hand for a family making $60K was $400.
Wow.
Okay. So I mean that may not count their house, okay, but your house is not a liquid asset in most cases, right? It's not something you can just.
Well, I mean, it also depends on the geometry and physically where you're located. If you have a home, that's great that you have a home, terrific.
Right.
But we don't know what your market is.
Well, right.
You know what I mean? We don't know if your house is increased or decreased, or if you've got any liens against it, or what the hell's going on.
Yeah, right. You're right. Exactly. So anyway, people don't have, so point being is that, necessity will compel people, if they're called back, if there is a job to be called back to, they'll go. And now the question is what their rights are, when, and what kind of action they can take if they're faced with a decision that says, like the meat packers, right? I'm ordered back to work. If I don't go back, I lose my unemployment. But if I do go back, I'm at risk of, catching this disease and infecting my family and never mind what happens to myself. So that kind of situation now, these meat packers who I understand were non-union, although I think hopefully Brother Trump is sending organizers out to help them. That's the kind of situation in which that question needs to be answered, of what resources can be brought to bear to defend those people, because that could end up being a lot of people in very desperate circumstances. Now the other question is, of course, is that, and I heard this yesterday from all people of one of the Goldman Sachs guys, top economist on Bloomberg. And he, of course, doesn't believe that there's any V-shaped recovery coming.
I
can't remember his name.
Yeah, his brother owns all the hair cutteries. Dennis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
But anyway, he was.
I saw him. Yeah, I saw him just a little while ago on Morning Joe talking about how there's no way this is going to be a V shape.
Well, in addition, they also had Nouriel Roubini, who is hard to understand when he talks a little bit. He's at the Stern School at New York University, I think. Is that where the Stern School is, Joe? Is it NYU?
I don't know, John.
I don't know. Anyway, it's one of these big business schools. And he predicted the last Great Recession. You know,
Right.
he got some renown for doing that, and he was also making this point, is that it's not going to be, there's no bounce back up, you know, out of this. Maybe it's a U, meaning a long kind of, not quite an L, but, you know, coming back. But you have the exact situation that the owner of our favorite restaurant was, well, or his mother-in-law anyway, was telling us the other day. And that is, you know, we can open up and have half the tables, but that's not enough to pay for the food. And, you know, you know, how can we really do that? And I'd have to have the cook cooking it and serving it and cashing people out. So it looks to me like we're headed into a situation where, you know, a public rescue of both the workers who are ordered back but can't go back, the workers who are ordered back but now are going to pay a penalty in theirs and their family's health. And then you have the whole part of the economy that ain't coming back for a long time. Now that's a lot of, that's what, 20, 30, 40, maybe 50% of the country. That's a really big number of and so I really, I was hoping that we could get Ted, our, you know, economist here from the state, to call in, but haven't heard back from him yet. But so the real question is that, you know, you got to have some more socialism.
Well,
I don't. Go ahead, Joe. And getting thoughts.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just gonna, won't that be determined state by state, John?
Yeah,
I mean,
probably,
you know,
yeah.
So that, you know, those states that are run by Democratic administrations will do one thing and those who are run by Republicans will do another.
Yeah.
And that will determine the rate and where and how the back to work. I mean, Trump can say what he wants, but at the end of the day, it's going to be determined federally and not by Washington. No?
Well, I mean, if you have a whole lot of protection, for example, that goes into place in New York, people from West Virginia will start heading to New York, or some other place that has some protection, right? But the problem is that protection is very expensive. I mean, most states do not have the ability to borrow money easily. They can sell bonds.
Not like the Fed. Not like the Fed. No.
No, right. Most of them are not in that kind of shape.
No.
And
but they're also jumping up. Yeah. You know, if you look at New York and the northeastern states and California, we do exactly what the governors have already said, is we prop up a lot of the red states. We give them, you know, money comes out of the New York fund to go fund public schools in Kentucky.
Right.
So, I mean, the reality is it's amazing to me how we can sit back and we can talk about how we don't have enough money for this stuff to save our own country and our own people, but yet we have trillions of dollars to dump into the war.
Well, if you're a federal government,
they were printing pallets full of money to give to warlords in Afghanistan.
That's true.
To bribe them. So I don't give a shit if you have to print it. Print the goddamn money and make this right.
Well, the federal government can do that, okay, because it controls the currency, but states do not have their own currency ever since Alexander Hamilton thought that was a bad idea. You know, most states had scripts back in the old days that they would issue, but the backing was questionable for the money, for the currency, right? So in the minute there was a
here, John, it's a 10. Trust me.
Yeah, right. It would go to hell. Well, but it's true. We're proving one of the premises of what they call modern monetary theory, that if you can control the currency, well, you can print as much as you want. Okay, you can pay for what you need right now. Okay, the federal government can do that. Now, that does not mean that down the road, sometime, it has to pay it back. That's true. But right now, I mean, there's no limit at any given point in time to how much money the United States government can raise, or for that matter, any country that controls its currency. It may have to deal with inflation eventually, but for now, it doesn't. And you have another compelling problem. It's going to be but I think Joe's got a good point that the politics of this are going to play out very differently in different states.
State per state. Yeah, I agree with him. Yeah.
Joe, where are you coming from?
I'm in New York.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Right
in
in
New
the
York.
city, or
Yeah, I'm right in New York City. Mhm.
Oh, great. That's where my daughter is. My daughter's in Brooklyn.
I'm right near Bellevue, so when I go crazy from all of this, I don't have far to go. Just down the street.
Well, what's it like being in New York?
I don't know, man. I ain't been out since March 11th. You know,
Wow.
You haven't been out of your house?
I haven't been out the house, no.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know
Well,
what.
it's safe. It's safe. You know, it's
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta be feeling a little stir crazy.
a little bit.
Yeah, your utility bills are going up. You told me.
Oh my goodness. You know? Turn the lights off. You know, I've been having the lights on, but no, not anymore.
Anyway,
It's better to, you know, be in the dark in more ways than one when you think about this pandemic. Yeah. So I don't know, John. I think that the Trump can order people back to work, and he can have his militias go to the state capitals with, you know, heavy artillery and burst into the legislature and demand. But
Those aren't militias. That's terrorists. That's terrorism.
isn't it?
Yeah. that's
Hello.
terrorism.
We all
Where is the outcry? That's what I don't
I mean,
understand.
you got two bubbas down south killing a black man for jogging.
right.
And you got these asshats walking into the state capitol with their faces covered, wearing full body armor and an automatic weapon, and nothing happens to them.
why weren't they arrested?
No. Oh no, the two guys were arrested this morning.
Oh,
Finally.
they were.
Yes.
Oh, they were.
In Georgia, yeah.
Charged
No, I know in Georgia. Yeah, I know. There was, as a former cop,
Yeah.
and
They
his
were charged
relative
with
or
murder.
son, something like that.
Yes, him and his son.
Yeah.
Yes.
And but I'm more in Michigan. When those guys showed up, I don't know why they weren't arrested, other than they were armed and the cops didn't really want to deal with a gunfight.
Right.
Well, that's a good reason.
Yeah, well, that's
Well,
okay. Yeah, that is a good reason. I know. I mean, it is a good.
Well, you would wonder if they would actually fire against the police. You would wonder if they would actually pull the trigger. I mean, I don't think they would. I think they would drop their weapons and go peacefully. But you know, I'm Pollyanna, so I mean,
Yeah, so I'm one of the Michigan cops, and JB tells me I don't think they're going to shoot at you. You know,
no,
Yeah,
the
that's
thing is-
those
the
guys.
thing is-
I mean, we're talking about two different incidents, John. We're talking about two different incidents. We're talking about the guy down south with
Oh,
his
him, yeah.
son who had a shotgun, who pulled the shotgun out while trying to accost this African-American jogger who was doing nothing to anybody but jogging, and they shot him. I don't understand why the police at the scene didn't say, you know, put the gun down now or I will shoot you and you are being arrested. They weren't arrested. You know, it took how many days and how much social media pressure to arrest these two guys. Not only that, I do agree, but I think that the feds and the state police should have arrested those guys at the State House in Michigan. That's
Yes, they
why-
should have. But why
I
did
don't know.
the governor not do that?
I don't know.
Someone needs. There needs to be an answer on the record.
yeah,
about that.
somebody has to ask that question.
Yep. Well, that and then the biggest thing that puzzles me in all of this, and maybe you guys can help me out with it, is initially, let's go back to January and February. Maybe the World Health Organization didn't do a great job. Okay, maybe they didn't. But one of the things the guy said was, the way we handle this is what? Testing, testing,
Right.
testing.
Sure.
Why in the fried apple didn't this orange idiot deployed the Defense Production Act to say we are going to make tests. We're going to make all kinds of tests. We're going to make millions, billions of tests. Why didn't he do that? Why is he still not doing that?
Ideological, mostly, I think.
I mean,
Well, actually, they didn't they have tests, and then the damn things didn't work.
right? Yes, initially, yeah, and then he turned around and blamed that on Obama.
Right.
Oh my goodness, you know.
Well, he's blamed everything on Obama.
Right. Yeah, it's the black guy's fault. Sure.
Yeah.
But also too, he it just seems to me that they don't want to know the numbers. They really he wants to live in this alternative universe where the numbers aren't, nothing's it's not that bad. It's not that bad. We're okay. We're gonna make it through. Let's open everything up.
Good impression.
Thanks. I mean, I just think it's crap. I just, it really is. And then you got, Chuck Lee, friggin' Pence. Mother, everything's fine. Mother.
Should I wear my mask today, Mom?
I just didn't get a chance to read.
But guys, going back to the back to work orders now, what's his name in South Carolina? Lindsey Graham says, no more stimulus checks, no more unemployment over my dead body.
Let's kill the motherfucker.
I'm not going there.
Now. Okay, we're on YouTube. Okay.
No. We want peaceful.
Oh, he's killing us. He's trying to kill us.
You don't get nothing. You don't get nothing from me. You ain't getting no more money. You ain't getting nothing from me. I need my mint julep and my fainting couch. You get nothing from me.
Okay, well, Lindsey.
Gotta work on that one, Mike.
Well, we know that Lindsey's on lock, stock, and barrel.
Lindsey?
Somebody.
I don't have to work on that one, JB. I've got it down. Be quiet.
Lindsey Graham. Okay, so these guys, they don't care. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that we got 10,000 corporations that are going to go out of business, and that you found out that liquidity doesn't matter. Their credit line, they need one if they have some business, but if they don't have any business, that doesn't matter. I mean, you can have endless credit, but if nobody's applying to you for a loan, like the guy from Bank of America said the other day, he says, "Hey, I'm ready to lend it out to anybody that comes here." He says, "But there ain't nobody coming. Nobody's applying for it." And I mean, of the people that need it, okay, because if you're sitting there and your restaurant is closed, okay, and you all the opening terms look to you like, I'll never make any money out of it anyway, okay, well then going into debt, because if the Fed may be giving the bank the money for free, but the bank is giving it to you not free, okay.
Yeah, but that's double jeopardy. That's double jeopardy because we're already in debt through the Federal Reserve, and why should we have to go into personal debt for something that we did not cause? This is a Trump virus.
Right.
This was caused by Donald fucking Trump.
Yep.
All right.
And the other, JB, you're absolutely right. And the other thing about this, not only that, when we're talking about this virus and we're talking about how much it's affecting our society and how small businesses are just imploding left and right and they got no credit, they got no access. Let's think about this for a second. Everything else is going to go up. Everything else is going to be more. Now groceries are going to become more expensive.
My grocery bill has doubled.
Right, prices are going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, they already have. I mean, we just spent an extra $140 on our grocery bill, where everything that we normally buy just all went up magically.
Yep.
I saw a 6-pound rump roast in Martin's, which is our giant foods down here, calls itself Martin's. $45.
Ooh.
Man.
$45. Get out.
$45.
45?
Yep.
And there was only one there. I can see why there's only one left. And
John's looking around. It's like the last one. He's like ready to pounce.
But then they had an entire row of these thirds. They bought it from some third. I mean, all these stores are hunting down their supply chains to find stuff. You see brands that you never saw before in the store all the time now.
Oh yeah, now, yeah.
And so there was this big, long shelf of prime steaks in these little wrapped up little things, right? That were going for like $20 a piece, and they only weighed like about a quarter of a pound, like it was about the size of a quarter pounder. Okay.
Jesus.
And there was tons of them sitting out there, but nobody was buying them, because the price was so high. And
Well, don't expect to get a burger from Wendy's because they're not selling burgers right now.
They're not,
really,
No, Wendy's canceled selling burgers.
because they don't freeze their
They
meat.
don't have
right?
the meat. Yeah, it's all fresh, so they don't
Yeah.
have their pipeline.
oh, God, it was only 2 weeks ago that I had a Baconator there.
Yeah, but that was 2 weeks ago, John.
John, why do I keep telling you don't eat
No,
that?
it was before you told me, Mike. Okay.
Stop.
Oh man.
No, and this is a former really, really obese guy telling you that. Now, knock that shit off.
Okay.
That's
okay,
gonna
pal.
kill you, man.
All right, pal. Okay. Okay. Well, next
So,
up,
Joe, would you eat a Baconator?
Who are
JB.
you asking?
No, I'm asking Joe. Would you eat a Baconator?
A Baconator?
A
That's
Baconator
it's a
from
Wendy's. It's a
Oh,
Wendy's
yeah,
bacon
it's
cheese hamburger.
Nothing but cheese and meat and bacon.
You know, I haven't eaten red meat in quite a while. I'm not like opposed to it. It just hasn't come my way. But if I was hungry enough,
Probably. Yeah.
probably would. Yeah.
Well, now
If it's
you're
shit, that was the only
hesitating.
thing to eat. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I eat a lot of fish and a lot of chicken and a lot of turkey.
I tried to go through Burger King, but the line was like a quarter mile long. Cars.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
What are they selling? French fries now? Chicken
Uh,
sandwiches?
Yeah, chicken sandwich, French fries, I think, and hot dogs, and bean chili, and
and-
potatoes.
Jeez.
oh, they
Bologna
okay.
potatoes with bean chili.
Anyway, I see an opportunity here in the upcoming back to work death march, or to stay at home with no money, and now committing myself to an informal economy. There's that one too. I see an opportunity for labor organizations here. If we can get it together to mount a major campaign to try and get the only way that this is going to work. I mean, if the business market system as it exists in the United States cannot respond, and I don't believe that it can at the level that is going to be acceptable, all right, then you have to have a public works approach to the whole matter. Because there is no other way. There's no other way. Remember, the government can print as much money as it wants in the middle of a crisis. It can do that. And it can put every single person in the country to work doing something. That can happen. Okay. And it can also pay all the medical bills. Now, it's true that at some point, all that work people are doing has to produce enough value to pay back the ultimate debt. Okay, and I'm not a big believer that the debt just goes away. All right, economies have shown that doesn't happen. The Bolsheviks tried to do it in 1917, and they too eventually had to pay part of it back. Okay, to be able to trade in the commercial world. So debt does matter, but it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter now. And I think almost all the progressive economists will agree with you on that also.
Milton Friedman?
Huh? Krugman too. Yeah, absolutely.
Milton Friedman.
Even Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman had a lot of things. Yeah, he would agree with you.
Friedman, he said that.
Do that.
Hey, John, you know what's funny on the screen? Just an observation.
What?
Your head is to the left of your camera. It's
That's
all
got
of
my
us are
microphone.
centered. You're not centered.
Oh man.
John, it seems to me that there are two issues.
Go ahead, Joe.
Right now, the issue is to put money in people's hands so that they can survive. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because it's not safe to go back to work right now because the virus is abating a little bit in New York, but it's going up around the country, So it's not safe to go back to work now. That's one thing. And then the second issue is public works. To that like the WPA, the government has to find a way to provide jobs, rebuilding the country. And the Green New Deal provides a unique opportunity to do that in a sustainable way. But in order for either to happen, people have to be organized and put pressure on the administration and on business to compel that to happen. And that's the major issue now, how to bring that public pressure to bear, you know? So trade unions have to do it, civil rights organizations have to do it, women's organizations have to make the call, and in a big way. And now you got like 2 months opportunity to do that, because once Labor Day hits, everything is going to be focused on the election, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And that raises a whole other question. But let me ask one other question, and in connection with that is that you know, David Plouffe, is that how you say his name? PLO.
David Plouffe, yeah.
I have trouble with
And
David Plouffe, yeah, he former Obama campaign. Yeah.
And David and Axelrod, who
Axelrod,
both campaign managers for Obama, you know, published an op-ed essentially asking what's going on with Biden. And well, for them to be asking that, I'm pretty sure means that the former President Obama is asking that question.
Right.
Why is he in the basement?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to picture otherwise.
Joe is very vulnerable. He's one of the most affected by this virus. You know, it'd be very simple for him to pick up the virus.
I understand that, but I mean, we have Trump.
I don't fault his production folks for putting together some really good commercials. I mean, they're doing a hell of a job. I mean, the commercials look really good.
But Trump is on. That's true, but he's on the front of the news feed every single day.
And
his major competition is Cuomo, Newsom, and Nancy Pelosi.
I'm going to say this again. I've said this before. Sometimes I think there might be, and let's go back to 2016 and remember what a bias there was, because everybody wanted to see the orange-haired idiot bloviate. They had a camera on Fox News shot at a podium that was empty, waiting for Trump to show up for 45 minutes.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And right around the corner, Hillary Clinton was having a huge campaign rally, and there was like 25,000 people there, yet it didn't get any camera time. My point is there is this almost psychologically hypocritical bias to a certain extent. I mean, I don't say it's pointed directly at Joe Biden, but again, JB, I agree with you. Joe Biden's got to be careful because he's in that age group. But also, too, I want to see Joe Biden come out with maybe what John and what you, JB, and what Joe may theme as kind of like a fireside chat.
Yes, that's a
kind of in the evenings where he can say, this is what we should do about that. This is what all these questions that we all have, all four of us have. He can address those questions at a national level, at a state level, at a local level, to talk about how we deal with the PPE. What would he do that's different in the Defense Production Act? In terms
that's what Axelrod and them were saying, that there has to be a massive social media campaign by the Biden camp, using all the different networks and all the different channels, because they were arguing that this election campaign for the first time in history is going to be almost completely online. Yep. It won't be face-to-face. It's going to be in the Matrix. You know what I mean? Y'all saw the movie The Matrix? You know?
Yeah.
That's what they were arguing. And therefore, you know, you got to take a whole new different approach, and you just can't do it by sitting in front of your camera on your computer in your basement. And then they said, Biden, your campaign has to take the form of an insurgency against this chump, you know? I
Yeah.
thought that was really interesting too, John.
Yeah.
An insurgency.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
do
they-
think we're going to see that start to develop in this next week. I really do. I do believe
I
that.
hope so, because I mean, I
Because God, if Axelrod and Plouffe are coming after him and saying, "Look, you know," that means his good buddy, his former boss, is saying, "Joe, you need to get up off your ass."
Well, he's had this scandal that he's had to deal with. And,
Well, I don't think it's much of a scandal. I think it's a whole lot of horse shit, is what I
yeah,
think.
but it's something that he had to address, and it
Oh,
made
I know.
him
And they're going to
uncomfortable.
continue. I mean, the right wing's going to keep beating on it. You know,
Yeah,
I
but
didn't-
how
I thought he
can-
did it.
how
it has
can-
no credibility. None.
All right. Okay. One at a
They have
time.
zero.
I think he did an okay job on the Tara Reid thing. Hopefully, he's telling the truth.
I think he
And
is.
well, you know.
Tara has
uh,
changed the story too many times.
Anyway, so but I also think that and when he spoke out the other day on transparency and prosecution of the people that shot the fellow in on the
That
beach
was
there,
important. Yeah.
that was important, you know. So I mean, but I'm hope you're right, Mike, that he's got a plan to maybe he doesn't want to start too early and blow his whole thing before he's.
Well, I think he's sitting back.
He's
Sitting
probably
back,
got a timing, but he's got these biggest billionaires in the world that are liberals behind him.
Yeah.
Okay, and that are experts at mass communication. Bezos, okay, is behind Biden.
Yeah.
So is Bloomberg. So is Bill Gates. So is
Yeah.
Buffett. Okay, these guys. I mean, they own entire media networks.
I know, but
They can't
John,
put it
what I'm
together.
saying is, I think they're all sitting back going, wait.
Yeah.
It's like we had to use Lysol. I think that would be interesting. Let's
You can
Nice.
inject some Clorox.
drink some Clorox out of a UV shot glass.
Yeah.
You know, they're sitting back going, look at this idiot. Wait, hold on. Now. You collect everything and you go, now pound his ass. Boom, every day.
Okay, but we may be getting a lesson here in what billionaires are capable of doing. You know, but so I'm.
I know what they're not
you're
capable
right.
of doing. Some of them are not capable of paying any goddamn taxes. I can tell you that.
It's a problem, you know.
You know, that's
Problem.
right.
It's a problem. you
Well,
know. Go ahead, Joe. Yeah.
Democratic Party convention, it looks like it's going to be online. It's going to be a virtual convention.
Okay.
But my question is, how do you organize the vote? What does GOTV look like? You know, what does voter registration look like? You know, and then there's the age-old question of what form will the election itself take? Will it be by mail-in ballot, or will people be lining up like they did in
60
Wisconsin in the middle of the
Wisconsin.
Say what?
68% of people in the country want vote by mail.
Right.
And that's including a majority of Republicans.
But I want to state my controversial position here is that I think we don't have any control over how that's going to work out.
Hmm.
And from a progressive point of view and from probably the labor point of view, is that you have to be prepared for either situation and to do both. And I think it's worth risking your life to knock this guy out of the presidency.
Hmm.
Personally, myself.
I'm going to wrap myself in plastic.
And, you know, I think we have to encourage, you know, people's moral commitment
Go
to
vote.
do whatever is necessary to get this guy gone. Okay. Now, if it turns out that means we got to go door to door to leave things at the door in a somewhat safe way and to get around and to get people the information they need, who knows how many voting places are going to be restricted or closed or not open or not enough for the people, et cetera, then we'll have to do it. I just
Hey,
don't
man,
see.
I just had an idea, John.
Yeah.
Us four could be, instead of Ghostbusters, we could be Vote Busters, and we'll all wear like chem suits.
Yes.
We'll all travel around in like a Ghostbusters type car, and we'll drop off.
But look, won't that also be determined by the states, the
Yes.
voting procedure?
Yes. Also by the states. Yes.
You know?
Right.
So is it the case that if the blue states maintain the stay at home, reduce the spread of the virus, that it's possible that come election time, that there won't be a second spike, or at least that it'll be minimized,
Right.
and therefore perhaps the voting might be okay. No, I mean, is that?
It might. It might. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's a real possibility, Joe. I mean, it depends on how, I think sometimes it depends on how fast. I mean, you look at the Oxford study about what they've been able to achieve with their serum and how long they've been studying this in comparison. Because this, I think it was first used for MERS.
Hmm.
They've been studying it for about 25 years, and the adaptation to Corona isn't quite as difficult as it would be with, say, another lab. But there's a lot of different companies, and I mean, I know they want the money and they want the contracts for distribution, but you know, you may be looking at maybe the shortest time period that we've ever seen since the mumps. I mean, the vaccine took 4 years to develop.
Let's hope so. Let's
Yeah.
hope so.
I think we're going to be under that, but I don't know by how much though. You know, I'm still a little pessimistic about how you know, is it going to?
I don't know the science. You know, I saw another piece the other day. I read another piece which said that this virus was closer to the SARS virus back in the early 90s.
Right.
That they weren't able to develop a vaccine for it, and therefore the scenario
depends on how fast it mutates. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and so kind of like the AIDS virus. So I don't know the science, you know, so it's
Right.
difficult to
And the other thing too is they don't really know why these children are being impacted and affected the way they are. I think it's an autoimmune response to a certain extent, but I don't know if you've seen this. I mean, they had a 9-year-old go into cardiac arrest.
I saw that.
Have you seen?
Thank God he came back. You know, I think that, you know, he came back and survived it, but he was positive. He popped positive with COVID-19, and the weird thing is it doesn't affect all kids like that. And I think they really have to be very careful with kids. You know, I mean, they got to study that. I mean, because you keep hearing people say, "Oh, it only affects old people," and no, it affects everyone.
Yes, it does. And have you seen Lori Garrett?
No.
No.
Oh, she's fantastic. She's been on quite a lot lately. She, to me, is the expert. She needs to get more play because she has done, that's her life's work. Her life's work has been studying these pandemics, and she's written books. And Lori Garrett. You can
I've heard of her. Yeah. She's epidemiologist, right?
She was on Democracy Now!
Right.
And I was so impressed. And then the next thing I know, I see her on all the other major networks. So they picked her up. Democracy Now! Kind of led the charge on that, and they saw her on there and how good she was, and they grabbed her up. And now, she's on just about every day. Lori.
Now Amy can't get her back.
No, she probably can't because she's got to wait in line.
Right. Well, it makes sense. You know.
Yeah.
Let me ask another question.
I got a skedaddle.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining our
safe.
conversation.
Stay strong, stay healthy.
Thank you, Joe. You
All
do
right,
this.
buddy. Thank you. Take
Stay
care,
in the
man.
fight. Stay in the
All
fight, guys.
We
Stay in
shall.
the fight.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Well, so I don't know whether we're gonna.
Because he said he used the line from Dave Martinez from the Nationals this past year. Stay in the fight.
Right.
There you go.
Today we just have to go 1-0. Just 1-0.
Can you believe that he's been in his house for a month?
Oh my God.
Well, he's he can't walk. He can't walk.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I did not know that, John. Thanks for telling us.
Well, I wasn't gonna
Well,
say.
you can't tell him when he's on the air.
Well,
No.
I know, but he could have sent some prepared.
Actually, with assistance, he can. Okay, but I'm not so true. He can walk, but he has.
He has a hard time.
I don't know whether he had polio or whatever as a kid, but he had a disabling. He fought against it for years, and he used to walk with canes all the time. But now, I think he may be have to have one of those motorized things to get outside, and go anywhere, any distance.
Don't you expect the NAACP to really weigh in hard on this and Black Lives Matter? I mean, all
They
these
are.
They are, man. They are. They really are, JB. They're a lot of those organizations don't get the play that other organizations do.
Web, JB, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're the ones that are getting the brunt of this percentage wise, and there's no reason why this wouldn't be a rallying cry for the minorities in this country to rise up. I'm talking about the indigenous, the blacks, the Hispanics, you know, all the different groups, the immigrants, to, you know, say enough is enough. I mean, we're not going to be your, you know, we're not going to be your kindling for this
Right.
fire. You know,
Right.
it's going to be a huge fire, and we're not going to start it.
You know, this is one of the moments when I wish Bernie had been the nominee. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, what I would really like to hear, you know, right now from, you know, the Democratic leadership. I mean, and maybe it's probably, I may be wrong and may be unrealistic, you know, to even consider it. But, you know, what you really need is, oh, you want everybody to go back to work. I'll tell you what, we'll consider going back to work, you know, when we meet the following demands. Okay. And the first one being, you know, that we're going to pay everybody, and we're going to have, you know, we're going to put our reform agenda on what the working people need. And one is to get rid of this guy in the White House. I say, you resign and we'll go back to work.
That's right. I love that idea, John.
You know, you resign and we'll go back to work.
Here's how we go back to work. Okay. This is what we do. All right. We tell that guy to quit. Enough. Enough from you. Shut up. Now, we get serious people organized, i.e. a cabinet, if you will. A cabinet of people who actually have a freaking brain in their head. And we get shit done. The thing is, that's another point to be made, is his cabinet officials have all this power to invoke a lot of, and they haven't done shit.
No, they're
Done
clueless.
nothing.
They're clueless.
Oh man, we need to get Trumpless. Is what we need to do. We need to be Trumpless.
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, really, you can make a lot of demands, you know, and a lot of this and that. But frankly, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done a lot easier than they are being if just he wasn't there.
Yeah, John, I totally agree with you. And JB, here's the thing. I think in many ways, workers need to, at this very moment, need to realize just how much power they actually have. They need to realize, John, I understand that, you know, it's tough because if you have kids and you got these bills and they're saying you're not going to get your unemployment, so you better get your ass back to work, and blah, blah, blah. The reality is if all the workers went, you know what? No.
Yeah, but the leadership, they have to have leadership. I mean, it's true that in a lot of strikes, and this came up in the strike class that I was doing yesterday, actually. You know, one of the questions was, well, I mean, how do you get one? I says, you know, you don't have to, it doesn't take much to get a strike started, okay, in a place that's got trouble, all right? And assuming the jobs are worth protecting at all. It's hard to settle them. You know, once everybody gets steamed up and walks out, hard to come back, okay? Not tough thing. He says, but you know, the problem is you got to have people who treasure their relationships with their coworkers. That's important to them. Those relationships have to be important. If it's not important, there's no solidarity, okay? If there's not close, and some of the biggest strikes I ever saw, it was family relationships. You know, the fact that they'd been hiring family members, that everybody came from the same province of Mexico when they immigrated here and went into the shop. They got it all together. They all know each other. They're married to each other. They got all kinds of things going on. And they have these bonds.
In-laws and cousins and yeah.
Right, you know, and then in a struggle, you know, once everything becomes clear that there's a common, you know, then those bonds become very powerful. And people can perform kind of miracles, but they also need leadership that doesn't send them into the enemy's hands without, you know, unprotected. You know, that also happens if you've never done it before. You can make a mistake out of entirely innocent motives and get your head cut off. Okay.
Yep.
So it's the combo. That's why I wish Bernie was. I don't think he's going to back off. He may yet rise to the occasion. I'm not sure. It's not over yet. Nothing's over yet. In the middle of this, nothing.